Hello everybody, it's your boy Proftrof. We're back with our favorite Scottish person ever, right? He's Scottish, right? Scottish? Scottish? Anyway, this is absolute mad lads, the North Hollywood Shootout. I have no idea what kind of shootouts are happening in North Hollywood, but I assume it hasn't been the first time or the last one a shootout's gonna happen.
The last place, if you have ever considered a life of crime, the last place that you'd probably want to rob nowadays is a bank. With security being massively ramped up and everyone using digital payments, going in to physically rob a bank today would be as worthless as it is stupid. However, there was a time where armed robberies of banks were a much more common occurrence.
It's not just that. Nowadays, from what I've heard, they can follow the coin, as in like the money is all marked. And it also has like a automatic thing where it sprays some shit on the money if it gets yoinked. I don't know. So you actually cannot use most of the money if you steal it. I don't know how you would steal it and disappear. That would be insane. But hey, different times, I guess.
Though some of these robberies would end up with one or two.
By the way, do you guys know that during the cowboy days they allowed people into banks with pistols? Like you could go into a bank with your gun. They didn't. Security was shit then.
People getting hurt.
Interesting tidbits, huh?
Armed robbers tended to avoid killing anyone because they just wanted to get the cash and get out of there as quickly as possible. But there was one bank robbery where this definitely was not the case. In fact, this bank robbery was so brutal, so extreme, that it completely changed the way that American police would deal with armed criminals forever. This is going to sound like I'm describing a scene from an exaggerated 80s action movie.
Really?
But I'm not.
Okay, he got me excited.
This really happened. The North Hollywood Shootout.
Oh, I've heard of this. I think I've heard. This is the one where the police, these guys were so well armored that the pistols the police were using could not penetrate. So I think a cop went to inside of a gun store and got a rifle to be able to shoot at them. If it is this one, I'm not exactly sure if it is, but if it is, it was a very fucking awful event. I think a lot of people got clapped. Sad. God damn it. Okay. This fucking hair. Whoop, I guess. God damn it. Nah, Hollywood shooting, bro.
But before we get into the mad ladder,
Right.
there's in fact your boy Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends has taken over and you can play at any time, anywhere on either PC or mobile. It has 10 challenging dungeons with 10 challenging and strong bosses. 12 campaign locations with a fully voiced story mode, 13 powerful factions like dwarves, orcs, the undead, you name it. 460 like dwarves, orcs, the undead, you name it.
Cute little waifu. I thought that even dwarf women were supposed to have beards. What is this, a raid? What is this non-canon lore?
460 different champions for you to collect. Over 200,000
Damn, brother.
Fans, over 25 million players worldwide, and unlimited customization of your characters, with endless strategies and builds you can adopt to fight your way through the game. And my favourite thing to do in the game is still slapping people around in the PvP arena, because I have made my champion Jizo almost impossible to kill. And Raid has just released its biggest update, Doom Tower, 120 floors of hard challenges and even harder bosses. You really have to have a strategy.
After all these Raid challenges, you know what else is hard, brother? That's fucking cock. Come on.
If you want to make it
Give me
through
this
the Doom
game.
Tower. So click my link down below to download Raid Shadow Legends, and if you are a new player, you will get 50,000 silver, 50 gems,
50.
an energy refill, a clan boss key, 5 mystery shards, and 1 free epic champion.
Oh!
Shaman.
And it is a female empowerment, baby.
5 mystery shards and 1 free epic champion. Shaman, who I actually use on my team.
Damn,
These rewards
I would
are only
lick her abs
available
though.
to new players and only for the next 30 days, and you can find these rewards here
Weird.
in your
Nah, it's
inbox.
okay.
To properly
You guys probably used to
understand
it by now.
what really went on in North Hollywood, we need to talk about the two shooters and why they decided to commit one of the most violent armed robberies in American history. And the first robber we'll talk about is a man called Larry Eugene Phillips, who was born on the 20th of September, 1970. We don't actually know where Larry was born because at the time of his birth, his parents were actually on the run from the law.
Wow.
His father had recently escaped from the Colorado State Reformatory, and his mother would later be jailed for drug smuggling.
Apple doesn't
To
fall
prevent
far from the
themselves from
tree,
getting
huh?
caught, they actually changed Larry's surname to Warfel, which they hoped would throw the scent off from the authorities. But they would end up getting a divorce when Larry was just 10 years old,
Wait,
and he
did
would
it manage to
mostly stay
escape?
with his mother in LA, at least when she wasn't getting arrested for being a drug mule. Despite all of the hardships that came with his parents' criminal lifestyles, Larry really looked up to his dad as a role model. In fact, he even willingly changed his surname back to Phillips when he was old enough to do so, in honour of his dad. Larry very often seen his dad getting into fights with the police and also being taken away by the local authorities when
Yeah,
he
he's a
was growing up.
scumbag, that's what happens.
Over time,
What do
this
you
made
mean?
Larry harbour a seething hatred towards the
Jesus.
police,
Fight
and
the
ultimately
police!
led him to begin his own career in crime. The earliest known crime that we know Larry committed was in 1989, where
Definitely didn't have to think about his retirement plan. Am I right, boys? Am I right?
he stole $400 worth of goods from
400.
affluent neighbourhoods in LA. He would then go on to do real estate scams. These scams involved him telling a client that he had a property for sale, only for the client to then discover
And
afterwards
the property's
that
not
Larry
his.
did not own the property and the building was already occupied. But by that point, it was too late and Larry had already ran off with the cash. However, this never really got Larry anywhere because he got caught and he was forced to pay $140,000 in damages to his victims. Despite this, Larry would try and learn from his mistakes and would attempt to conceal his identity from future victims. However, this very often
You'd think that'd be the first thing you want to do, brother? Hey, I'm gonna go commit crime. First thing to think about. How about not getting fucking caught?
involved stealing his own brother's ID and potentially framing his own brother for fraud.
I'm a little confused. When you commit a crime, wouldn't you want your fake ID or fake personality, fake character to be as far away as possible from your your normal character? Why would you, brother? Damn.
If he ever get caught. Larry's own father saw him as a criminal genius and basically described him as an exact clone of himself. And what's funny is that instead of remembering
Wouldn't the criminal genius manage to, I don't know, not get caught?
his son with normal family photographs like everyone else does,
Gave him a gun?
he instead collected newspaper clippings
Oh.
documenting his son's crimes, and he even framed his son's mugshot photo. I mean, yeah, he was proud of his son,
For all
but
the
for
wrong
all
reasons.
the wrong reasons.
Hey!
Larry's brother was a bit less charitable in his description of him, probably due to the whole nearly being framed for fraud thing. He said that Larry was
Piece of
very
shit.
manipulative
Cunt.
and would constantly try to
Dickhead.
rope people into his criminal schemes.
Oh.
And one such person was Larry's future partner in crime, Decibel Stefan Emilian.
Oh, I thought that was a woman. I thought there was a woman looking at the head. What the fuck? Then I saw the hairy body. Are you a male? Sure, I guess.
Which is a hell of a mouthful, so for the rest of the video, we're just going to call him Emil.
Oh.
Emil was born in Romania on the 19th of July, 1966, and he moved over to the United States with his mother when he was only 10 years old, and eventually became a fully naturalized citizen in 1988. Unlike the extremely confident and sociable Larry, Emil was described by his mother as being incredibly introverted due to enduring harsh amounts of bullying while he was growing up. Also, unlike Larry, Emil tried to make his American dream come true through good and honest work at first. He earned a partial income from being a computer software consultant, but he mainly helped his mother run a care home for the mentally disabled.
Oh.
Unfortunately, neither of these enterprises did all that well, as Emil's computer repair activities didn't actually earn him much money, and the care home was eventually forced to close due to the maltreatment of the patients. During one particular inspection, social workers were shocked to find a woman locked in the basement of the premises without any food or water. Also, during one particular incident...
I was gonna say that does not sound like they're bad. Never mind.
With a patient, Emil received a very bad blow to the head, which required him to get brain surgery. He would, from that point on, continue to suffer from epileptic seizures on an infrequent basis.
Hey, too bad he didn't get one during the shootout, am I right? Maybe he did. Okay, so sorry.
Emil's family always found themselves in a financial
I
struggle,
grunted, I
as
made
his
a
mother
pig noise.
would constantly borrow to make rent, and at one point they were behind around $4,000 worth of tax payments. And it's these desperate circumstances that would make Emil easy pickings for Larry to recruit him in many of his criminal enterprises. Both men first met at a Gold's Gym in Venice Beach, LA.
What's up with
sometime
Gold's
around
Gym being like crime spot
1989.
syndicate
And both
gathering
men
thing?
quickly formed a bond over their shared interests, which included weightlifting, bodybuilding, and a very, very keen interest
In the male body?
in firearms.
Oh.
Larry eventually
Oh, you never
convinced
know, you
Emil
know.
to become his henchman in the many criminal schemes
He's a
that he would
godfather
plot
now.
out. Emil was described by his family as not having the confidence to be viewed as an equal partner to Larry, so very often Emil would just do whatever Larry told him. This absolutely isn't to say that Emil was stupid though. In fact, part of the reason that Larry took a liking to Emil is because he was really intelligent. Emil would very often analyse criminal reports from the police and made notes as to how he and Larry could improve their own chances of getting away with scams and robberies. Within a year of meeting, however, Larry became an aggressively domineering part of Emil's life.
Oi! They're actually fucking.
Despite being 4 years younger than him, Larry's brother described this as a deliberate tactic that Larry would use, saying that he would break your mind down and then build it up again so that you would become one of his crew.
Mind break tag.
This even extended to Emil's choice of personal relationships. Larry would actually constantly berate Emil about pursuing American women because, and I quote, they have a habit of talking back. Now, we all know that that is not true. It's not just American women.
True, it's all women.
In fact, when Emil
It's like
went back to Romania to bring his grandmother over to the States, Larry insisted that he meet and marry a woman while he was over there. It's quite the wingman.
Yeah.
In 1990, Emil would return to
Please
California
don't.
with his grandmother and newlywed wife, who he'd go on to have a few kids with.
Oh, the
After
poor
Emil
kids.
returned to America, Larry decided that it was time to start making some big money, as opposed to continuing their small-scale operations. And as the two men had an enthusiasm for firearms, the natural next step was to become armed robbers. Their first major score that we know of took place on the 20th of July 1993. The two men targeted an armoured van which was transferring money to the First Bank's Littleton branch in Colorado. The men had been making notes on the scheduled routes, timetables, and procedures associated with the cash transfer. As the driver and his assistant were unlocking the van, the men ambushed them with AK-47s and had them quickly load the money into bags, and then they sped off before the cops arrived. Shortly after this success, however, Larry and Emil got pulled over for speeding in Glendale, northeast LA.
Bro, I swear, this is like... I've heard a couple of stories where people get out with like some insane thing, like insane crime, and they get pulled over for speeding and everything fucking crashes around.
Searched the car and discovered that the men were packing 3 AK-47s, some explosives, smoke bombs, and thousands of rounds of ammunition. One of the investigating officers actually went as far as to describe it as a bank robbery kit. Despite all of that, though, the two men only served a 100-day sentence with 3 years of probation, which ended in January of 1996.
Why?
They even
How?
actually managed to get their guns back after they met a few bail conditions, meaning that they would still be able to go out and commit armed robberies without having to source new guns. On the 14th of June 1995, Larry and Emil targeted another armoured van just outside of the Winnetka Avenue branch of the Bank of America. Though the robbers still managed to get away with the money, the guards fought back this time, unfortunately resulting in one of the guards being killed and another guard being very badly wounded. Though these van raids would be pulling in a fair amount of cash, Larry and Emil wanted much, much more. So instead of targeting armoured vans,
how much is in a fucking van? I wonder.
Stopping off at the banks, the men
decided
to go after the banks themselves. Their main tactic would be to cover themselves head to toe in armour, drawing inspiration from a potential Aussie mad lad. Larry would hand stitch an entire bodysuit made from a material called aramid, which would make him practically invincible to small arms fire. Emil only wore armour that covered his torso so that he could remain more mobile, but he added a thick metal plate to his tactical vest which would deflect heavier rounds. They armed themselves with AK-47s and armour-piercing rounds, as the bulletproof windows and doors protecting the tellers in the banks were only designed to withstand fire from handguns and shotguns. After getting everyone on the ground, one of the robbers would force the manager to open the vault and fill their bags with cash. After this, they would then run to their car and drive off before the police arrived, and they would aim to do all of this within 8 minutes maximum.
Damn.
As this is how long they had estimated the police response time to be. They would successfully hit 2 Bank of America branches in May of 1996, securing around $1.7 million.
How much money do they want? What the fuck? At what point do you say that is enough? Let's stop and try to go away somewhere with all the cash. How much? What was their aim at?
Adding in the armoured van raids, their total score amounted to around $2 million. And after the police linked all of these heists to the same suspects, they were dubbed the High Incident Bandits because of the terror tactics and
Oh, he has a drum mag.
equipment that they used. By this point, the bandits probably thought they were on a good roll, and after having treated themselves to new houses and lavish cars, they prepared for their next heist. The Bank of America.
You guys are ahead. You robbed 2 banks, 2 armors. Stop. Just fucking stop. What is wrong with y'all?
America branch in Laurel Canyon Boulevard, North Hollywood. By all accounts, it was looking to be just another usual heist for the bandits. They used the same body armor, the same guns,
They got too
and
cocky.
synced up their stopwatches in accordance with the police response time. The bank itself wasn't particularly special either, just a small local branch which they hoped to get a good $750,000 from. But small and gradual changes in their luck would make this robbery far different from all the others. The bandits decided to strike on the 28th of February 1997.
Okay.
They got out from their parked car and started walking towards the bank entrance at 9:17 a.m. However, their carefully calculated police response time went completely out the window. Because just as they were walking into the bank, a squad car was just going past and spotted the 2 Ned Kelly cosplayers walking into the bank with massive assault rifles. Sensibly suspecting that an armed robbery was about to take place, the squad car called for backup.
This is the actual call they make.
5840, requesting assistance. We have a possible 211 in progress at the
211.
Upon entering the bank, the men immediately let off rounds from their AKs and got everyone on the ground. Again, it was
Like
the same
usual.
plan as before. Shoot the glass, get access to the vault, bag the cash, and be back home in time for breakfast.
But what is footage from? National Geographic? Technically they are animals.
However, when Larry accompanied the manager to the vault, instead of a massive stack of cash waiting for him, the manager completely cleared the vault with only $300,000 in total. It turns out that the Bank of America deliberately varied the times of its cash deliveries each week. So despite Emil and Larry's extensive prep work, it was basically
Random.
all down to luck how much money would be in the vault.
Smart.
Even worse was the
Smart.
fact that because of new company policy, the manager couldn't even open the ATMs, meaning that the bandits were only leaving with a fraction of the money they were expecting to get. Larry got into such a fit of rage about it that he just started spraying bullets into the vault, destroying the remaining piles of cash. And as if that wasn't bad enough, a die pack
Smart.
that was in the bag
What
amongst them.
did his dad call him? A criminal genius?
If that wasn't
Big brain.
bad enough, a die pack that was in the bag amongst the money
Oh, die pack.
had actually exploded,
Oh.
making most
Everything
of the
useless.
$300,000 they had just stolen completely worthless. You can just imagine how frustrated the bandits were getting at this whole situation. But the bad luck didn't stop there.
I mean, there was the
As
cops
all of this
outside,
was going
of course.
responding squad cars were flooding in, surrounding the bank and blocking every possible escape route. As the 2 bandits exited the bank at 9:24 a.m, they were shocked to see that they were completely surrounded by police. They thought that they still had the 8-minute response time because they never actually noticed the squad car that saw them go into the
Jeez.
bank. As far as professional bank robbery goes, literally every single thing that a bank robber would not want to go wrong
Went wrong.
went wrong.
Good. Fuck 'em.
Despite being so heavily outnumbered, and after a half-a-minute standoff, the bandits raised their rifles and started spraying automatic fire at all of the police. At this point, you're probably thinking that this was just going to be an instance of suicide by cop, but the bandits probably did think that they could still get away. As I said before, the bandits wore armour which would protect them from pistol and shotgun fire. Well, in 1997, those exact firearms were the only types that LA cops had access to. The robbers' armour was that good that even a close-range blast from a shotgun wouldn't do anything more than make the bandits feel like they'd just been pushed a little. The only way for the police to take the bandits down was to line up a perfect shot to the head. However, the handguns they were using were very inaccurate.
Well, what were they using at that point?
Firing from, and because the bandits were laying down constant automatic fire, the police didn't have time to carefully line up a shot. So why didn't the police have access to weapons that would have helped them deal with situations like this? Armed robberies in LA were basically a dime a dozen at this point, so it wouldn't make sense for them to be so under-equipped for the job. Well, it turns out that this was done for political reasons.
Of course.
On the 3rd of March 1991, a certain black fellow named Rodney King was beaten up by LA police after being pulled over for driving while black. The cops involved all got acquitted of wrongful conduct, which sparked
Driving
the
while
race
black.
riots of 1992. We spoke about all of this in the Roof Koreans video. But after these riots, local politicians were very wary of increasing the arsenal of the police in fear of this gesture causing further, mostly peaceful protests. So that is why the police were still limited to just shotguns and handguns. The police had
I'm
been
quite curious.
begging for the state authorities.
I'm gonna go check what kind of handgun they were using. Okay, so I could not find what exactly the police were using. It says 9mm, 12 gauge shotguns, and 38 revolvers. Didn't say exactly which types of handguns, but I mean, it's kind of weird to say a handgun would be inaccurate and then you use it as, you know, I don't know. Turns out that the AK that one of them was using was not an actual AK. It was a Chinese variation of an AK. The dude got an M4 and they have a AR. No, they also have a Beretta as well. And some of the rifle, I forgot what it was called.
To allow cops
Damn.
on the beat to have access to an AR-15 in their vehicle. And despite the police presenting evidence that criminals were able to get their hands on some very powerful armour and weaponry, this request was always refused.
Hey, just like
by
always,
Californian
politics gotta fuck up
politicians.
everything.
Well, this decision was now having its consequences. The bandits were not only able to withstand the police fire, but the bandits, remember, are using armour-piercing rounds, which meant that when the police were taking cover behind their squad cars, the bandits were just shooting straight through the cars and hitting the police behind them, severely injuring them. And also, a lot of pedestrians were also getting wounded by stray bullet fire from the bandits.
Alright, well,
Meaning that this...
on this topic, from what I understand, from what I've seen, you should not be taking cover behind a car. The only part you should be taking cover behind is the front, where is the engine. The rest of it's not gonna help against much. That's what I'm understanding. I don't know if, like, even an armor piercing like that, it needs to, like, I don't know if it would still do damage if it goes through the front, like through the fucking front of the car. That would be, they would need to penetrate very deeply. That's a lot of stuff to go through, brother.
decision
But yeah, the rest of the car,
both
you're
the police and the public in massive danger. The media were soon beginning to swoop in, both on foot and in helicopters, to get a better view of what was happening. And it turns out that even those in the helicopters weren't safe, as the bandits even started shooting at them.
Damn.
This was already an unprecedented situation, but what happened next made the shootout even more strange. 7 minutes into the firefight, Emil had obviously identified that this was the perfect time to make a clean getaway without having police cars immediately on their tail. Emil ran to their getaway car and screamed at Larry, telling him to get in, but Larry refused and continued to fight the police. Given what we know about Larry,
So Emil is the one that did not have the full body armor suit. He only had the chest piece with the added protection.
Probably knew how much of a disadvantage the police were at, and he probably wanted to take his frustration of the botched heist out on them.
Jeez. Oh, there it is. That's a bigger gun. Brother, you have some balls to be there. Brother, what are you? There is bullets hitting near your head, and you're still trying to. Oh, how little do you care about your life? Is your job worth this much? Is it? Brother, if I was at a point, I would be fucking run out and be like, fuck this shit, I'm out. I would be Metal Gear rolling on my side. Okay, what is that? What is that gun? What is that? Oh, that's a shotgun. I thought it was a handgun.
It was only 10 minutes into the fighting, and there was already a
That's
lot
a
of
lot.
police and civilians getting very heavily wounded.
That's a lot of
Frantic
time, brother.
attempts were now being made not to kill the bandits, but to rescue the seriously injured officers and pedestrians before they bled to death. A nearby dental surgery was able to provide shelter for one of the officers who had received a pretty painful shot to the back. The dentist even attempted to dress the wound and used the local anaesthetic he had to treat the pain. It may not have been the treatment that the officer needed, but it was enough to buy him some time for the medics to eventually get to him.
Nice.
Though they were able to rescue the officers located further away from the line of fire, the police were unable to reach the officers and pedestrians stranded in the areas closer to the bandits. Some officers became so desperate that they visited a nearby gun store called B&B, and
I
the
mean,
store owner...
that's very smart thing to do, right? Just go for, if you don't have the firepower, just find it, I guess. It's the best solution there.
allowed the officers to take whatever rifles and ammo they needed without even processing the receipts.
And I okayed the plan of action, which was to loan them a number of weapons and fill a number of magazines with ammunition for them and send them on their way. And basically all we did was what I think any reasonable person would do under the circumstances.
It was just at this moment that SWAT teams finally began to arrive on the scene. Apparently they were called upon so urgently that some of the members who were out for a training run just shoved on a tactical vest and turned up wearing their tank tops and running shorts. The SWAT team was soon able to commandeer an armoured van, which, ironically, was on its way to make a delivery to the very bank that was being robbed. And due to the van providing more than enough cover, the SWAT team was able to successfully...
Now I just want you to tell me this is the first armored car that they robbed as well.
rescue the rest of the wounded officers and civilians around the
keep
bank.
that dude's forearm.
Larry probably sensed that the tide was turning and decided that now would be a good time to finally escape.
He's been smurfing for 10 minutes, now the big boys are coming in town. Legit playing on level 1 after being level 60.
But he didn't jump in the car right away and make a quick
Wait,
takeoff.
Emil was waiting for him this time?
Instead, he walked slowly beside the car to give Emil some covering fire whilst he started to drive. And what's really chilling is that even though SWAT and better armed officers were arriving on the scene, the police radio operators still advised for officers in the bandits' path to not engage them for their own safety. Despite this, the police didn't exactly want two dangerous men to escape, especially after these
shooting
men
police.
had downed so many of their fellow officers. So the cops shot out all of the tyres of their getaway vehicle, which made Larry abandon Emil and try to make his own escape attempt.
Yeah, good luck with that
on
shit,
foot.
brother.
Larry made his way around the corner from the bank and then took cover behind a lorry. The police then surrounded all possible exits, so Larry would be forced to fight no matter where he went. As he continued to move forward and fire at oncoming police, one officer managed to score a lucky hit on Larry's unprotected thumb, blowing it clean off.
The thumb.
Though Larry could continue to fire, this injury made it impossible for him to clear a bullet that had suddenly jammed inside his AK. So at this point...
Hey, motherfucker, maybe you shouldn't have bought an actual fucking Chinese AK. Dumbass bitch.
Larry simply threw his AK down and drew his pistol
The
and
Beretta,
started firing back
from
at
what
the
I
officer.
found online,
However,
92.
the reality of the situation was beginning to dawn on Larry. He realised that the chance of him escaping without getting killed or arrested was pretty much zero.
Oh, he
So
ended
Larry
it?
decided to end the fight
Ah,
on his
come
own
on.
terms. He took his pistol, put it under his chin, and said goodnight. Though that was one of the bandits taken care of, the other was still on the loose, albeit in a trundling, bullet-ridden wreck of a car. Emil was already injured at this point and was desperate to make a quick getaway. As he was driving through the streets, he spotted a yellow Jeep coming towards him, which he intended to use as his new getaway vehicle. Performing the tried and true GTA method, he fired at the windscreen of the Jeep, frightening the driver into getting out and running away. Emil then proceeded to load all of his stuff into the Jeep and hopped in. But then he suddenly realised that he couldn't turn the ignition on because the driver had made sure to take his keys with him when he ran off.
Big brain. Big fucking brain.
The cheeky bastard.
Yeah, we don't get that in GTA, do we? Huh? Huh, boys? We get the whole turn down the thing, two wires together, easy. Shit ain't like that IRL, is it?
At this point, it was too late. A squad car had screeched to a halt in front of the Jeep.
Oh,
with
bro.
Police armed with...
Yo, those cops have some fucking gonads, brother. If the dude he has a machine gun, and they stop like 5 meters away from him. I don't know if I would do that. I don't know if I would do that.
Positions beside Emil. Emil hobbled back behind his original getaway car and began firing on police again. The police were unable to get a clear shot at Emil's head, but soon realised that they could shoot at his legs from underneath the cars. It took about 29 bullets to the legs before Emil finally went down and offered his surrender.
Yeah, kick him. More.
The last
Kick the wound.
shot was fired
Kick the wound. Kick it more.
at 10:04 a.m.
Sorry.
Meaning that the gunfight had lasted
More kicks. Yeah,
for
break that fucking leg.
4 minutes. It was estimated that the bandits had fired around 1,200 bullets throughout the whole battle, which averages to around a bullet being fired at least once every 2 seconds. When the police finally handcuffed him, Emil refused to cooperate in any question and repeatedly screamed at the police to shoot him in the head.
Not
The
that lucky,
police
buddy.
did call for an ambulance for him. However, EMTs weren't allowed to enter what's called a hot zone, which is an area where the police and medics believe that a shooter is still active. And because there was so much confusion as to how many shooters there actually were, ambulances were only able to arrive 70 minutes after Emil had surrendered. And because of this delay, they didn't make it in time, and Emil bled to death.
No.
Aside from the shooters, in what has to be an absolute miracle, no one actually died
Oh.
from what was one of the most brutal shootouts in American criminal history.
Okay.
12 officers
That's very
and
good.
8
Damn.
civilians were injured. With some
I gotta be honest, I was expecting some high ass counts. I was a little afraid of the counts. I was like, Jesus Christ. Oof, this cannot end well, huh? But damn, no one. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's very good.
Disabled. One officer
what?
were injured, with some being permanently disabled. One officer was so traumatized by what happened that he immediately quit the force and became a youth pastor. The absolute bravery
I can
and
believe that shit.
selflessness of many of these officers was rightly rewarded, with 19 of them receiving the Medal of Valor and getting to meet the President of the United States. However, the praise wasn't...
It's pretty funny though, isn't it? Like your people almost die, your friends almost die because of politicians, and your reward is to go meet the biggest politician in your country. I don't know, buddy. I don't know how to feel about this. I mean, it's an honor, right? It's an honor, but when you start thinking about it,
It's entirely universal. Emil's family tried to sue some of the arresting officers for negligence.
Kill the bitch. In game.
By allegedly allowing Emil to bleed out. The case ended up not going anywhere, and the family was forced to withdraw from legal action, or else they would have gotten charged themselves for malicious prosecution. If there was anything good to come out of this whole ordeal, it was that public perception soon changed from suspicion to adoration of ordinary cops in LA. It also finally convinced politicians to actually care about the safety and protection of ordinary police officers. The law was changed so that LA cops had access to an AR-15 in the trunk of their car, with many other states following suit. In 2003, a TV movie called 44 Minutes was aired, and it based itself on the events of the North Hollywood shootout. But what's strange about this, however, is the fact that the shootout itself might have been inspired by a movie. When police investigated Larry's home, they had found a finished VHS tape of the movie Heat, whose final scene very closely resembled the actions taken by the bandits. So if we were to assume that the movie Heat inspired the bandits' final stand against the police, we could say that 44 Minutes is art imitating life, which in turn imitated art. In 2004,
big braining now.
The LAPD Museum would debut an exhibit on the North Hollywood shootout. The displays showcased the bandits' gear, their getaway vehicle, and the other police vehicles which were shot out during the battle.
Yeah.
And apparently some of the officers present at the shootout who attended the opening ceremony got so emotional at seeing these items again that they were immediately brought to tears. I think most police, in their hearts, are extremely brave and honourable people.
Okay, we're doing this whole thing. Come on, brother. Of course they are. Listen, a police job, okay, from what I've seen, I've talked to some people in America that know a decent amount of police officers. They don't make money. They make money. They don't make amazing money. They don't get paid a shit ton. What else is there for you to want to become a cop? Yes, there's probably a bunch of assholes that make everything else, the rest of their brethren look bad. But it's always like that. It's always like 5 cunts that make the other 5,000 look bad. I don't know. Is there something like this gonna happen again for, people to start respecting police officers in America again? I don't know. That's just an annoying topic for me.
Risk their lives to protect others. Hashtag not all and all that, not the ones that
Blue
are
Lives Matter.
Killing suspects or arresting people for tweets. But let's not tar them all with the same brush. But Larry and Emil's crime spree was brought to an end just by 2 cops being in the right place at the right time. Or the wrong time. I mean,
Yeah, they probably got
I wouldn't
shot,
have wanted to have
unfortunately.
been there.
Same.
It's Count Dankula on YouTube. Everybody should subscribe.
Okay. Well, that's the newest Count Dankula video. I haven't done much in a while. I don't know why. Don't ask me. I'm a random as fuck, okay? Sometimes I do stuff, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I forget to do stuff, okay? That's what's happened to me. Anyway, hope y'all enjoyed it. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this whole topic. What do y'all think about this event? Besides the fact that it's kind of fucked. I wonder why they didn't just stop. They had 2 mil. 2 mil in 1998, 9, whatever. It's probably a lot more cash than 2 mil now. Probably could have lived pretty decent lives. But I guess they got greedy. And they paid for it. Anyway, quick thank you to the YouTube members and the Patreons. Pedro Martinez, Kamansko, Unit Swas, Derek Senior, Hilton, Lemon, Monarch, Madash, Ronic, Nine, James, Benoit, Rui, Hideki 25, Michael Museo, Nicole, Georgiev, Charlotte, Leroy, Olivia, and Sangri. Thank you all for the support, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye bye, everybody.